We are going to go into game 1. Another die roll.
Ooh.
Not snake eyes.
Close.
It's a 6.
It was going to fall over. Oh,
And
a 12.
maybe we're going to see a very explosive opening in comparison to the snake eye rounds.
Yeah, 12 for Tearlaments. Not as many cards as they had to take out of the deck, but you'd have to roll 3 dice for that. Starts off with the planet. And a Paralena.
Adding a Tearlament monster into hand. We're going to add Sharon into hand. Sharon's probably the best opener. I would argue perhaps better than the Heart monster, right? Rhino Heart.
Foolish Burial Goods. Now, we were talking about this just before. Let's see if he sends a Tearlament card, or if we're going to see that Trivikarma that just came out in Photon Hypernova. It is Sulyak.
Sulyak. That is going to be able to get us another monster into hand.
And it's Tearlament's Kashtira.
I mean, there are more ways to send more cards to the graveyard, especially this Tearlament's Kashtira now being available. Really good card. Almost functions like one of the Earth Fairies. And this is going to provide you with additional send cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard.
We're doing the effect to special summon Sharon. Sending
a Squamata.
So we've got some actual shadows in here as well.
I'm going to mill 3 cards. I can't tell what that card at the top is.
That a Rhino Heart?
It's a Rhino Heart. Rhino Heart has been sent to the graveyard. And we're going to have to develop some big chain links with this deck. Now, for Tearlaments, one thing to always be careful of, and one of the things that's very easy to overlook, is the attack change that happens over with the field spell as well as Scream.
Yes. Haven't seen Scream quite yet.
And we get Rhino Heart summoned back onto the field, I believe with Rhino Heart's effect. And it sent the Tearlament's Kashtira. And we also have a Beast also sent to the group via the Squamata.
And that's going to get another card draw right here. Now we're going to send 2 more down for the Kashtira, and we hit Keldo. Now, probably why you didn't recognize that Rhino Heart right there is that that's the ultimate rare Rhino Heart.
Oh.
You can't see his background. He's just popping off of it.
That's why. And we're getting a Havness sent to the graveyard.
All right.
Now, all these names, except for Rhino Heart and Tearlament's Kashtira, they are at 1. So you won't be able to send one from using their effects to send cards and also get the same name into the graveyard anymore.
You're going to fuse with a King of the Swamp from the hand. And that's going to make Tearlament's Rolkalos. Named fusion material is not available, not legal, but that doesn't mean you can't substitute for it with King of the Swamp.
Yeah, that's why we're seeing a lot more King of the Swamps. In fact, it changes the whole landscape of fusion monsters in general.
It's not just Rolkalos that you can get in Tearlament's deck. You can get Grapha as well, who we saw a couple rounds ago.
Yes. That's going to provide a bit of protection against spell, traps, and monster effects.
The normal summon is committed to Diviner of the Herald. A pretty good one. Going to send one more fairy to the graveyard, and it will be Kelbeck.
Kelbeck is likely going to activate and is going to send more cards to the graveyard. And I think it's a good choice in terms of activating. In fact, used to be, we would be scared to activate. What if my opponent is playing the mirror match and I send some of their cards and they start to trigger their cards? But now there's a lot less to worry about. But maybe for this matchup, it might not be so good. What if you hit into a Sacred Tree?
Like a lot of times, these decks, when they were more kind of Naturia focused rather than Runic focused, would still play those cards, the Earth Fairies, to use in exactly that way. You get more cards into their own graveyard.
But also sending Naturia quick play spells into the graveyard might load up for that fountain.
Now you hit a Scream on that as well. You're going to grab another copy of Sulyak. This one's going to be able to be set.
So like now we have monster effect negation. Or maybe if it's sent to the graveyard later on, could generate another monster into the hand.
Now that Herald should be level 6 right now.
Yes. Unlike the branded strategy, we're not going to be locked into only doing fusions here.
I've got an Xyz monster. It's Time Thief Redoer.
Now this card does not detach for cost. It detaches for the effect and can trigger some of the fusing effects of these Teal'c monsters.
Yeah, it's like we've traveled back in time to early day one when we talked about that.
Oh, yes.
David E. has Nibiru. That's going to be thrown straight in Rulkalos's effect.
Now, is there going to be a follow-up disruption to stop the Rulkalos?
Doesn't look like it, but now Redoer is going to zap out of this timeline and into a different one.
At resolution, I will do chain 1.
And I believe we're going to chain 2 cards. I believe the Rulkalos can come back. And we're going to perform another fusion summon. Oh,
You got the Shadow Beast and a Dark Monster.
are we going to see a Winda today?
Seems likely. That's usually what you make with that particular combination. I mean, it could be I guess it could be a Mud Dragon.
I mean, it's a really open-ended, especially when the fusion material on the recipe is a little bit more generic. And we are seeing the Mud Dragon rather than the Winda.
Yeah, now that's probably a case of he looked at his opponent's cards that were sent. Oh, it's runic. Oh, I need targeting protection.
Yes.
I say as he sends it away immediately.
I think we're going to see a synchro play here.
Yep. Well, that's a 4 and a 6. You know what that means.
Baron de Fleur, welcome to the field.
So Rulkalos Baron, and that Rulkalos is big because of the planet, sets one face down, and then Time Thief Redoer returns. During the standby phase, Time Thief Redoer can activate to steal the top card of the opponent's deck.
In standby, I'll attempt to activate Time Thief Redoer.
That is a monster effect activation. And I haven't seen the Triple Tactic Thrust, but these, unlike Triple Tactics Talent, which needs to catch the monster effect during the main phase, Thrust just needs to catch it within the turn. He can be able to activate it. Now, we are seeing, I believe that's a Flashing Fire?
Yep, you gotta catch the Redoer now while it doesn't have any materials and can't escape. We'll see if that draws the Baron de Fleur effect.
I mean, if we get the Time Thief Redoer, if it does go through, likely, I would say a high chance to get the spell card, but no, it is going to be destroyed. And 2 cards will be banished off of the top of the deck. Did we hit a name?
Hit Reinhardt. I didn't quite see what the one beneath it is. Fountain is activated next.
I believe there is 3 cards in the graveyard to be put back to the bottom of the deck.
We're going Freezing Curses next. It's interesting that the Fountain went through.
Do you want to negate the activation of this particular card? If the activation is negated, I don't believe the Fountain will get to activate to get the card draws.
Also, if you let this through, then your Baron's just blank for the rest of the turn.
You pointed to the card, but is that the negation declaration? I believe it is so. We are going to be negating the activation and destroying it?
I'll have to take a look at Baron's text right there. I believe it negates the activation.
I believe it does negate the activation. But the players are continuing to play because there is the Keldo in the graveyard. Keldo is going to attempt to target the 3 cards.
Target these 2. And my Teal'c's Cascio. So it was these 2? Yeah, these 2.
Yeah, it does negate the activation, and Fountain does require the activation. So perhaps this isn't a case of the Fountain activating, it's just the Keldo activating.
Well, either way, if those cards do get shuffled back into the deck, it's going to reduce the odds of the chances of getting 3 cards drawn in. Well, they're taking their time to read the cards now.
Go ahead and pick up the Fountain and take a look at it right now.
That's why those cards are so powerful. The perfect timing, especially for a matchup like this one.
They really are. These, like playing with them at more than one again over the Duelist Cup has been a re-enlightening experience on exactly how strong they are.
Also, I believe they are reverting the game state.
Yes.
And the Keldo is now back in the graveyard.
All right, so it looks like we've rewound to the point where Baran negated the activation of that runic card.
At resolution of the activation, what was the one that negates freezing curses?
I believe there's a response after the freezing curse.
It's to activate Soliek.
We're going to activate Soliek, flipping it face up. There are no monsters, so this is just an activation of the card and none of its effects. That's a continuous card, that is possible.
Presumably that's so that he's got it up for, if one of the other monsters comes out.
We're seeing a Runic Destruction activate, targeting the Soliek.
And this time, the fountain's going to activate.
And there's going to be a Chain Link 2 because Soliek was destroyed. And Chain Link 3 as well, with the Keldo targeting the same 3 cards that the Runic Fountain targeted. Oh, not all 3.
Yeah, one of them's going to put back Tearlament's Castro.
Is that the card that is going to put back into the deck? And maybe that Soliek is going to add the same card back into hand.
And it works as long as there is another copy of it in the deck. And he's placed 3, so there are. And then David's only going to get 1 draw out of this.
That's going to definitely minimize the resources. Runics definitely need to get the flow going. Got to keep the card, the hand size really large to stay in the game. And with the 1 card, I believe he's down to just 2 cards in hand with a fountain that has already been used.
And I saw a trap card in his hand, which is either going to be the tree or infinite impermanence. And it looked a little more like a tree than a robot. It was for Runic's Slumber.
We're trying to generate the monster. That's as trying to generate the monster. Runic. Sorry, not Runic, but the Tearlament's Orkalos will be able to negate that. And we're going to send away the Tearlament's Kashtira.
It's King of the Swamp and Trivikarma. That could be devastating. That's probably just it.
Yeah,
and it is.
Yeah.
And it is. Wow. So Caleb takes game number 1 with Tearlaments. It's like they never left. That all looked very familiar.
They're still here. They are still here. Well played. Caleb representing the entire fan base of Tearlaments.
Yeah, Tearlament's Castro putting in a good amount of work there. We saw a lot of different things in motion here. We saw the Shadow cards come into play. We saw King of the Swamp do its thing.
And we even
saw Keldo.
Yep.
Saw Foolish Burial Goods even. That was a really interesting first game. Mm-hmm. It didn't take a whole lot of time. It was only just a couple turns, but a lot of action.
I mean, that deck is known for having a lot of action. Whether it be your turn or my turn, we get to
our turn.
It's our turn. We get to share a turn right now. Sometimes in the shared turn, the other guy gets to do more stuff than me.
That's fine. You just do it back to them on their turn.
Yeah, exactly. But I love the Foolish Burial Goods. It's such a flexible card here. You can send away either the Tearlament's Soliek or the Trivikarma. Trivikarma more or less acting like another copy of Terraforming, getting you the field spell. The field is so powerful.
And it's like, okay, well, we can only get a few field spells, but they're the ones that all mentioned Visas Starfrost, and those all search monsters.
Yep.
On top of doing other things.
Yeah, and being able to search the Soliek, maybe you get the additional negation, or you can just take a longer route to generate additional monster, especially when you already use the Pearl Reino.
Mm-hmm. Trivikarma, really useful card.
Now, going into this tournament, I'm a bit surprised to even take this particular deck into this because there's so many Kashtira. The Arise Heart is a very hard counter to more or less the entire strategy of the deck.
It is, so you kind of have to make a bunch of concessions for that as well. So you're going to have to be main decking things. You need the books. Maybe you're going to go as far as to main deck the Kurikaras, like we've seen some people do as well. I don't know that I'd go that far in this deck because you need a bunch of other stuff as well. You don't want your deck to get too big. But, something like the books that are generically useful in a bunch of different matchups. Like it covers both Sprite and Kashtira, for instance, if you can flip it down. So I like that sort of main deck action here.
Low level commitment, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't have to pay a heavy cost.
Generically useful things. Like
Yes.
Book of Moon, maybe not Book of Eclipse if people aren't going to spread everything out and go crazy.
A Book of Moon having probably the better interaction. You don't have to worry about if I can't clear all those cards off. Giving them 4 to 5 cards usually means defeat.
Yeah. And you can do a whole lot of things, but maybe not clear 4 or 5 things.
And also, you also don't run into the weakness of getting hit by an Ash Blossom Joyous Spring because
True.
that card does mention drawing cards, and that is going to be one of the weaknesses for Book of Eclipse.
That is true. And I don't think I've seen an Eclipse at all today, but I've seen plenty of Book of Moon.
Oh yes.
And it looks like we're about ready to see game number 2 here in the top 64. Caleb and the Tierlins have a 1-0 lead.
Being a monster effect heavy deck, I think if we can see the Sunflower come in, it could spell for a lot of trouble for Caleb.
Now we're going to start by special summoning monster out of the extra deck.
I believe that is a Flashing Fire for the summoning.
It's Hugin.
Hugin is going to be discarding a Freezing Curse.
You can always tell the Freezing Curse by the blue kind of icy goop.
And it's also very bright orange on the other side. So we got to the Runic Fountain. We have 2 spell cards in the graveyard. Are we going to push forward? And how are we going to push forward?
Okay, we got Naturi Camellia.
All right. On summon, you get to send a Natura card to the graveyard. Guess like the Sacred Tree.
He's going to out Tierlament.
I'll send more cards than you. We have received a Mole Cricket. The Mole Cricket does feel better in the graveyard than in the hand, for sure.
We go with the Blessing next to special summon. There's Mole Cricket on the field.
Feels better on the field. We're going to activate the effect of Mole Cricket and substitute the cost with Camellia's effect. So we're going to send 2 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. I love that effect.
Hits 2 more spells as well.
And we see the Sunflower. Special summon from the deck.
So perfect opening so far. But upon that special summon, Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard, is being activated to try to special summon and return it to hand.
Now, because the Camille already activated, Sunflower will need to tribute itself and another Naturia monster to get the negation. Otherwise, it will be returned to hand.
Checking that graveyard there. See if he wants to let it through or pay the price.
Now, there's a benefit to putting it into the graveyard. If you have the Camilla on the field, you could potentially just summon it back on. But we're going to see it put back into the hand, and Kelbeck will be summoned onto the field.
Now, seeing the Kelbeck there means that it is safe to just drop Naturia Beast here. It's not going to get bounced back itself. And since the Naturia monster was summoned, you can get Naturia Mole Cricket back onto the field.
We could probably reset a couple of these cards, but I don't know how many copies of Sunflower there are. But if it's in the hand, you can pretty much predict that the Mole Cricket probably can't summon it out.
All right, so next time Naturia Beast is destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it won't be. And as a result, Runic Fountain gets to put 3 cards back on the bottom of the deck, draw 3 more cards.
That's a lot of card advantage.
And it's taken Psy-Frame Gear Gamma out of Caleb's deck, revealing that he does in fact play it.
At least it was not a driver.
That would be a little painful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Of course, it might just put that driver on top of the deck to be drawn.
Foolish Barrel Goods being negated by Naturia Beast. Now note that Naturia Beast does need to stay on the field.
And there was a chain there. I didn't quite see what it was. I assume it was the Tearlaments Castra. That gets hit by an Ash Blossom, and then Rhinoheart is normal summoned. The Jury Beast not quite as threatening in this matchup as it would be, say, in that Sky Striker duel from last round. But still a very imposing card.
And there's a lot of cards. Like, the field spells can't really go through. But let's jump into action here. We have the Mole Cricket activated. Summoning out one monster. We have the Camellia. If there's going to be any more summons committed, we're going to see more cards being summoned out of the graveyard. I think now we are seeing the Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart I believe Rhinoheart is sending a card into the graveyard right now.
Yep, that's what we were in the middle of.
Now we're seeing Sharon sent to the graveyard.
At resolution, I'll attempt to activate Sharon effective fusion.
And I believe that's going to trigger the Sharon to perform the fusion summoning. I don't know which monster I would go for right now.
Yeah, this is a bit of a tricky one.
Oh, seems like we're going to go for 3, and we do have the name of Rhinoheart.
Rhinoheart. Well, that'll get a monster off the field real quick.
And it is Kaleidoheart.
Attempt to activate Kaleidoheart effect, targeting Nature Beast.
Kaleidoheart is going to be targeting the Naturia Beast to put it back into the extra deck. But that's also going to trigger the Mole Cricket to special summon itself back onto the field because an extra deck monster was summoned, and we're going to see Mole Cricket. And a monster was summoned. So are we getting the Camilla?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to resolve the Camilla first to send Naturia's Sacred Tree to the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to do the Cricket.
Now, this reminds me of the previous format. Just so many things going on.
And because there's the extra deck monster out there, you get 2.
Yeah, 3,000 is a very high attack stat.
And then the beast goes back to the extra deck.
And the search from the Sacred Tree will grab us the Naturia Blessing. Now, Rhinoheart has one very specific condition on this card. You cannot use it as a fusion material, making it a little bit harder to put back into the extra deck. The activation of Pearl Reno and David Chain's Runic Destruction. Oh, we are hitting quite a few cards on the Banish from the top of the deck. I believe that was 3 trap cards.
It's kind of the malicious compliance here. It's like, what? You want to get rid of cards from your graveyard? Okay. You can get rid of them. You're just going to banish them. And Dave's going to get 3 more cards back. Kelbeck shifted to attack position.
Now the battle phase. I mean, we could definitely push for a little bit of board clearance, but I don't think this is going to be able to clear enough.
Kelbeck slightly larger than you might think. I think it's 1,500.
Mole Cricket for sure. And Mole Cricket, you just never let that card stay on the field.
It's hard not to let it stay on the field, considering its propensity for moving back from the graveyard.
But it's best not to let them start with it at all. Leaving the Hugin there is fine. It prevents any additional runics from being summoned. But Camilla is a tuner. We could see some synchro plays move forward into the next turn.
It's got to be a kind of a generic 6, though. Like, you're not going to be able to get the Naturia stuff since Hugin's not Earth.
But perhaps we can dig into additional cards by drawing through either a Coral Dragon or maybe a Stardust Charge Warrior. So some more classic options.
So we're linking away for Alsa, the Earth Charmer. Which you got to think is in there specifically to summon stuff like this.
Yes, and sometimes you might even go in the cast tier match where you take the Fenrir, which is very, very good.
Also Earth.
This gift doesn't have an effect if it's into the graveyard or anything. We'll target Konami.
I wonder how we're going to push through to the end of this turn. How are we going to, before we pass turn off, how are we going to establish what kind of board we have here? I think the options are quite limited now that we've already passed into the main phase 2. Oh, and David has just a handful of cards.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Also, they're confirming the card effects.
Yeah, it could be that it is a foreign language copy of Alsa.
Oh.
To make me think that they're going to destroy it with flashing fire and see what exactly the search capability is for it.
Now, the effect of Asa does need to summon into an arrow. So by destroying it, you will not be able to get the effect to resolve properly.
Right, but I think he's looking at the other effect as well, for if it's destroyed.
So the effect of... Are they attempting to activate the effect of Asa? They have to confirm a ruling here.
Yeah, so I believe at this point they're talking about the adding an Earth monster effect. So obviously, Alsa is destroyed. You can't special summon to the zone it's pointed to, but because it was destroyed, we're talking about getting a 1500 or less defense Earth monster.
I believe we are adding an Earth monster. Are there Earth options? Of course.
Yeah.
The Earth fairies. The Maven Earth fairies. We're going to add an Yugioh.
And there it is. That's the other one that lets you knock 5 cards off of both players' decks.
I wouldn't count Caleb out just yet. Being able to knock 5 cards is really strong, especially if they hit 5, major hits. We hit the jackpot.
And they're going to go ahead and banish Kaleido Heart, special summon Tearlaments, Kashtira.
It's going to make the opponent send the top 3 cards of their deck to the graveyard.
And that is going to trigger the effect
of Yugioh. Special summon Yugioh. We're going to be special summoning back at the Kelbeck.
All right, so we've got 2 level 4s.
Oh, we're likely going to see an Xyz summon play. I'm going to take a wild guess here at Baguska. Or are we going to see a Dugaris? Those two could definitely either hold the board or push the play forward.
It is Dugaris.
Attempt to activate the Dugaris effect to draw 2, discard 1.
Use Dugaris to draw 2, discard 1. That's going to get hit by the freezing curses. Whoa.
Oh no.
Those would have been some good ones to draw.
That's a lot of cards banished off the top of the deck already. The pile of banished cards. And on Caleb's side, I don't think there's any interaction left. Nothing that would activate.
Nothing we can see.
There's nothing we can see right here.
Tearlaments are kind of known for having something that they can play during your turn.
Perhaps we'll have to be careful with the Tearlaments cast here, hitting the graveyard and perhaps hitting 2 more cards off your own deck. Now, there is no battle phase for David, as we did activate a bunch of runic spells. Sunflower has just landed.
was going to say, you could use Havness, but maybe not anymore.
Well, but I guess we just reopened up again. Now, Sunflower alone doesn't really do anything. You gotta have the second Naturia monster. And there it is.
Barkion.
Barkion with a...
I don't know that.
I don't know if that's possible.
Hugin is light.
Yeah, I believe Barkion requires Earths.
Yeah, Hugin is light.
Yeah, you need 2 Earth monsters.
So that is not illegal. Not a legal synchro summon.
We're gonna have to see if Caleb catches on here. And we're gonna get another synchro summon as we move forward into a Chenying. Now, if there's another generic option, it's still possible that we're gonna see this particular line of play. But Caleb picks up his cards.
Yeah, it's too late for that error now, and it might not matter.
If there's a Coral Dragon, that wouldn't have been okay. It definitely needed to be Stardust Charge Warrior, and it's possible he has a Stardust Charge Warrior.
Yeah, it's like there was a legal synchro summon there, almost certainly, but that wasn't it.
I don't think it would have made a difference for that particular line, unless there's a Nibiru that came out of nowhere for that, but I don't think that would have been an issue here.
All right, well, we're going to head out over to a game 3 here on this one. Everything came up David.
Yeah.
One. His start was very, very strong. Got all of the cards he could have ever wanted off of Fountain. Set up his Naturia Beast, and Caleb was just really on the back foot for most of it. But Kelbeck got some action out of Kelbeck there. It was pretty good. And we'll see. We'll see what he's got here for the third and final game of our top 64 match.
Yes, this all-important Game 3. Is it going to stay in the tournament, or is it going to get eliminated? We're going to see how that's going to go. But I'm kind of curious of how the siding pattern is going to be for Caleb. Now, because we know Dimension Shifter used to be such a popular counter against Chilliments, but people aren't playing it anymore.
No. And then, there are even some Castro decks that used to be playing it just as recently as Lima Peru. A lot of them are playing that as well. But I haven't seen one shifter all weekend. I don't think the Flanders deck was playing it. Not that we could really see much of what the Flanders deck was playing.
I think because there's just so many Kashtira players, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of value. Perhaps you need something with more coverage, especially for a format that's this wide. You can't have cards that only target one particular deck. You just need the variety. You need a little generic overlap for all of the coverage now.
I think just being completely useless against Kashtira kind of...
It benefits them.
Yeah.
It benefits them a lot, especially with Theosis now immediately just gets the card back right away. Maybe accidentally trigger a big bang and leave them with an additional monster. It could completely backfire if accidentally just too eager to just throw the card right away.
So maybe we just don't want to play any cards that'll help our most common matchup. Maybe that's not the best use of side deck space.
Yes, but in this particular matchup, they do have cards that would benefit each other, but they have to play them.
It's true. It's true. What a tough one. This is a really interesting match. Just the whole, I love sending cards to my grave. It's he's sending your cards where? Where do you want those to go? Over here? Okay.
Activate my effect. That's like someone's nightmare, especially when you clear off all the stuff on the field, and all of a sudden they say activate effect, and that's the nightmare. I was like, wait. Then the motion is you pick up their card and you start reading their card. Like, oh, I missed that particular part. You got to read the whole card, everybody.
It's fine. We just put it a centimeter away from the graveyard. It's close enough, right? Maybe not.
Well, I think they're just about done siding. Being able to not deal with Naturia Sunflower, not needing to deal with Naturia Beast, that's going to give the open turn of turn 1 to Caleb. I can't imagine he would not choose to go first.
Yeah, I think you just need to get your stuff going. get your stuff going, especially before Runic Fountain hits the field.
Yes.
Because that just, like, the amount of things your opponent can do when they have Fountain on the field, minimum doubles. Like, it's all the stuff in the field, all the stuff in their hand, everything they draw. So double to triple the number of possible interactions just by getting that one card on board.
And it makes it even more difficult to anticipate for like clearing their cards, because even if the board is empty, you're not in the clear yet. It almost feels like back in the day of Gores. Passing turn on Gores. You can hit me, but I don't think I'm gonna be taking lethal damage.
All right, we're ready to go.
All right, the all-important Game 3 has just begun. The pressure is on. Players have, I believe, about 9 minutes. A little over 9 minutes to play here. Oh, Tearlaments Scream. I love this card.
Tearlaments Scream, all right.
The attack reduction is so powerful.
Scream and Reinhardt.
Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Okay, very safe.
We're going to knock 3 off first, hit Terrific Karma and Kelbeck.
That's good. That's really good.
And get to send a card of our choice.
I'm going to continue to send more cards.
Ashtira.
This is the conveyor belt loading the graveyard, so to speak.
At resolution,
In a new chain.
Chainlink 1, Tearlaments Cashier, Chainlink 2, Kelbeck to number top 5.
So we're going to start with the 5. Look at that, that's Chainlink 3. Oh, no, that was 2. No, the first one was Tearlaments Cashier. The next one was...
At resolution, I saw the result too, Dash.
I couldn't tell how the resolution went.
Yeah, I thought he said... I thought he had them in the other order, but in this case it doesn't matter.
We also got an Agito sent to the graveyard. That could potentially lead to another 5 cards. I think it starts getting a little risky here. I mean, there are Naturia cards. There are also Runic cards. You might accidentally load the grave up a little too much.
We got a bit of the Tearlament spells and traps as well. I think I saw Celiac in there, and I think I also saw Heartbeat.
This looks more like a classic Tearlament turn now.
A little bit. A little bit. My eyes are glazing over slightly. Looking at all those cards going into the graveyard and trying to process the information.
There's also a Mudor right at the top of the graveyard. So
I know what that one does.
So we're probably going to see some cards being shuffled back in at some point in the chain. Sharon has been added to hand.
Interesting seeing Cosmic Cyclone there. That feels like it's a side deck card.
I don't know how impactful a Cosmic Cyclone would be for this particular match. Perhaps for the field spells, for the Scream.
At resolution,
Oh, it's better than letting the cards land into the graveyard,
Yeah.
at the very least.
I will attempt to activate Mudora, banishing for cost. Targeting Heartbeat,
Yeah, that was a Heartbeat.
Kelbeck.
Kelbeck. And somehow seems to have dodged all the Naturia cards.
We have a Bestial Magnum Mutt in the graveyard. I believe that has
That's
to be a
interesting. I don't think
side
I've seen any Bestial cards today, so that's going to be a side deck one.
At resolution,
So David did have cards that are effective in this matchup.
add a spell that mentions Visa Starfrost from my deck to my hand.
And now we get the Terrific Karma effect that's going to grab one of those field spells.
Which field spell are we going for? Again, for Perloreno? No, we're not.
Oh, it's any spell, really.
Yeah, anything that mentions Visa Starfrost.
I see. So you put the Heartbeat back into the deck, so you get it back out with Terrific Karma.
That is a way to answer to the fountain.
It is. Going to show you, draw Sharon. Pitching Psyframe Gear Gamma. That's
Another
3
Gamma.
more cards. Gamma Screen Kelbeck.
At resolution, let me make sure I have a card to add off the screen.
I believe Kelbeck did
Kelbeck's
already
already
activated.
Yep, we've hit the dump 10.
I will attempt to activate Tearlaments Screen to add a Tearlaments Trap from my deck.
All right, so we can activate Scream here. That's good.
We're going to see a Soliac added to hand. Is that a Soliac?
Yep, that's Celiac.
They're so blue. Now there's 2 level 4s on the field, but it can go in any direction right now.
It's just a lot. It's a whole lot. And frankly, it's impressive that Caleb was able to keep his concentration for this far in the tournament, because it's longer than usual. It's 12 rounds just to get out of Swift instead of 10 or 11.
Yeah. We're going to set 3 cards. Oh, and there's a pause after the set 3.
Possibly a slow play. The last set of decision-making did take a little while, so I think it would be totally justified to give a slow play warning there.
If a slow play warning was issued, then we are likely going to see an additional 3 minutes in the time extension.
And that's the other thing. Like, even if you're dumping all of these cards into the graveyard, you still have to play at a reasonable pace.
Yes. I know there's a lot to think about, and there's rumors that, oh, I'm thinking, I get time to think. Well, you have to think and play at the same time. We're going to see a runic tip activated from David. I can't tell what phase we're in. That's the difficult part here, but we're going to see a runic tip right now.
I would guess it's probably the draw phase, just in case, given how the propensity of Droll and Lockbird.
Yes. Oh, that was a funny one to banish off the top of the deck. The one card that could be useful, the Ash Blossom.
Oh, that's a little rough.
The reminiscence of 6-card Nibiru. We're going to see the Runic Fountain. Ooh. I believe we do know that there is a heartbeat.
Yes. Pull that off of Trivikarma.
Let's see if we have a magnet to kind of absorb that particular effect. Or we're going to wait for the activation of the card. That's a Flashing Fire. Runic Flashing Fire has been activated. Are we going for the summon?
It takes out a special summoned monster only.
We do have Sharon.
So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and get Gary.
Gary has nothing to add back from the graveyard, so we're only going to see the Runic Fountain activate, targeting 3 spells in the graveyard. Unless, oh, there is a fountain. There is a fountain, so we do get an activation. So Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. This is going to help, block something like Ash Blossom.
Chainlink 4 will be Suliak targeting Jerry.
Chainlink 4 on Gary. Chainlink 5, Heartbeat.
Oh, there's so many cards.
Heartbeat targeting Runic Fountain to destroy it. Chainlink 6. Ooh. Chainlink 6 is Runic Destruction.
Chainlink. That's a...
Chainlink 7 is Tyranids Crime.
Oh. The counter trap. That's going to cut off most of the rest of the chain, even if they wanted to.
And, we've seen everything on Caleb's side of the field here.
That is a full Tearlaments package.
And that's why you need the 2 monsters, I guess.
So, are we able to retrieve any cards, though? We have to resolve this chain. I mean, Caleb's swung really, really well.
Yeah,
here.
that was very smart. Set that up very well.
He chose to not make any fusion monsters. He chose not to build anything too elaborate. Rather focus on using the spells and trap to counter the plays that were coming up. Very, very smart.
All right, so we're still in the main phase for David here.
Now there's 2 fountains in the grave.
Yeah. Wasn't able to get either of them back, and that Gary's stuck in the extra monster zone now. Oh, you're going to have to get that out.
That's going to activate Tearlman's Scream because we still have a Tearlman's monster on the field, so Tearlman's Scream can activate and send the top 3 cards into the graveyard.
Polymerization Driver.
Oh!
The crowd goes wild out there.
Yes.
We can hear him from here.
Havness has landed safely into the graveyard. And we're going to see a Sacred Tree being sent to the graveyard from the Camellia. Havness effect. We're going to use Havness, Rhino Heart. We're going to go for 3.
And that's going to be the Kaleido Heart again.
Now, we do not have any Naturia monster in the graveyard.
Nope.
Oh. Okay, so the Sacred Tree is now going to add back, or add from the deck, the Naturia Blessing. There's more chain links where that came from.
In a new chain, we have... Well, the new chain we're going to read, Camellia.
Yep.
And then we're going to target it.
We're going to activate Blessing. Blessing's other effect.
To synchro summon.
Ooh.
Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend.
It is good. I mean...
It's not strong enough, though, is it?
Not under Scream, no.
No.
Now, what does Scarlight Dragon Archfiend destroy?
So, destroy special summon monsters with attack points equal to or lower than its own.
Oh, so neither of the basically attacking and the effect are not going to go through here.
And he knows. And he's reading it just to be sure. Caleb might not have known that he dodged a bullet there with that Scream.
I mean, normally you wouldn't use an effect to destroy Reinhardt anyway, but we basically have all bases covered at that point. And we still have a Soliac on the field. Soliac can definitely get rid of that Scarlet Dragon Archfiend.
Normal summon King of the Swamp.
Oh, the Scream.
Scream.
Scream is so good. You know, with a lot of the main deck from Tearlman's basically on the FNL, limited to 1, you're going to find different ways to send more cards to the graveyard. And Scream is just one of those that you can just more or less get once per turn.
Hellback.
We're just going to
Sorry, not Kelback, Keldo.
Keldo? Oh, okay.
Keldo.
And look, there is a Kashtira Fenrir.
Fenrir.
Ultimate rare.
Yeah, I love Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. All of those kind of like Arc 5 era Jack Atlas cards are really nice. Go to the battle phase. Kaleido Heart wins the battle over Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and King of the Swamp gets in there too for good measure. And you can do that safely because you know your opponent doesn't have a battle phase. They can't just swing back over.
I mean, that's the risk you take when you play runic cards. But you can always mitigate that risk with cards like Dark Ruler No More.
Let's see what that card is from David.
It's a Destruction. Runic Destruction. We are going for a summon. I think it's very risky because there's a Soliac, and Soliac plus the Kaleido Heart. Those two in combination is very, very dangerous.
Goes for Gary.
I'll do Chain Link 2 Scream to mill.
And you get Chain 2 Scream.
Yeah, we'll just do Chain Link 2 Scream.
And just Chain 2 Scream.
Sending 1, 2, 3. Yugioh, as well as Diviner the Herald and a Planet.
And we are going to be getting back the Runic Fountain. A Yugioh effect in the new chain.
Oh, he hit a name there.
But David, he also loaded the graveyard with a bunch of runic spells as well. There's a point where there are too many runic spells in the graveyard, like all of one copy, for instance, then it becomes a bit of an issue where you're losing utility.
So we're going Merly effect. 1, 2. We're going to make Ruthless. We're going to make Grapha.
You can go in either direction.
It's real close.
That's going to help with the summoning negation.
This is tough, and he's forced to just pass.
Neither of those monsters are too affected by destruction.
Nope.
They have a comeback.
We had a 3-minute time extension on this match, as we had posited earlier. Probably a slow play warning.
Likely a slow play warning,
which comes with a mandatory 3-minute time extension minimum.
We're going to say normal summon a halfness.
So we're still going. We've got an attack here.
Are we going to prevent its destruction? Nope, we are going to let it be destroyed by battle now. If it is destroyed by battle, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it.
I mean, what are you going to destroy here? The King of the Swamp?
They're both going to make a comeback on both of the fusions. Definitely not the Kaleido Heart, where it's probably even going to load even more stuff into the graveyard. Yeah, it's King of the Swamp.
It is King of the Swamp. It's really the only choice, unfortunately. And we're going to go 3K and...
Are both of these 3K?
3K.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Well, this
math is thrown off because they don't have a planet there.
Oh.
Ooh, the end of the battle phase evenly matched.
That's a great way to clear off a lot of these monsters. And the spells and the trap.
All right, so we're going to leave real close. No cards in hand. What do you got, David? It's got to be good.
Set. I believe that was a set Ash Blossom.
Oh.
No monster?
Oh.
No monster on the draw?
Oh, no.
I mean, Evenly Match was great to clear off all those cards, but once again, even though you might have cleared the field, the follow is what matters most afterwards.
And he has got a monster, and it's Reinhardt.
Reinhardt does not have enough attack to attack over it.
But he's only got 1,000 life points left, right?
It should be around 1,000, yes.
Rilkelos just takes out the defender.
Oh,
all right.
There's a blessing, so...
You can put some more...
But there is a Rilkelos.
I think there's a Keldo in there somewhere, right?
Yes. I mean, there's many ways to stop this, and as long as you can keep this particular line going, Caleb might secure his spot for top 32. There is a Keldo.
Keldo. I knew I saw it.
I think he's going for the negation.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and negate it.
And we're gonna send a Sheraid into the grave. Oh, that's gonna load more cards onto the grave and into the field. Oh. Caleb takes this one. Congratulations to Caleb on securing his spot in top 32.
They live.
Yeah, they are still here.
Oh, wow. That's an impressive deck building and excellent gameplay from Caleb on there. I really kind of like this deck. It looks cool.
I know